Hi everyone, this is Ray, or some of you might know me as Tiki with Ray, and welcome to another episode of Tiki Goth Club. My name is Ray. This is my friend Jamie.
Hello.
I'm going to do that. You're my friend. You're my co-host.
I'm also your friend, Ray.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Tiki Goth Club. My name is Ray, and this is my co-host Jamie.
Hello.
And today we are going to talk about goth. Well, let me ask you this. When it comes to Tiki is escapism. Mm-hmm. Could the same be said for goth?
I believe absolutely.
Okay, how so?
I think a lot of it comes from the environments. And I wouldn't say just somebody being goth that they're automatically just escaping everything. It's not that. But it's like when you go to the...
Is there a level of escapism? Like, is someone... Like, you wore goth back in the day. Like, what was your draw to it? Was it escapism? Was it you just like the fashion, the look, the music?
It was definitely the music, but I think the biggest draw was the style, just the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
And how creative you could get with your look. So
Yeah.
I'm a naturally artistic, creative person. And so a lot of that would come through in like how I presented myself to the world, not just like what I made or what I did, but actually like me. And so like the artistry of getting dressed was a really big part of it.
Now, what about environments? Was that something that goth people did? Was like they would take it to the next level and create goth environments like in their home, make their homes gothy, make their bedrooms gothy? Nay, no.
I mean, people definitely do that. I have a friend who, her house is beautiful. I mean, it could be in a magazine. It's also completely full of bones and taxidermy and weird religious and occultist objects. Like, it's when you... On the surface, it's just this beautifully decorated place. And you start looking at what it's decorated with, and you're like, oh my gosh, all this shit's haunted.
You're thinking to myself, I better not piss this girl off.
Right.
Hey, everything's okay.
It's great.
Was that common, though, for people to go to that next level?
I think that, I mean, for a lot of people, like when you go to decorate your home, it is a reflection of who you are as a person. So I think a lot of our personality and our aesthetic is shown in our homes. If you're somebody who has like decorated your own home and made it look like how you would look. I'm not people who hire someone else to decorate their house.
Well, this is what I'm thinking, because I'm thinking about it. It's like, I mean, I remember when goth, whatever you want to call it, even though it didn't really have a name back then, kind of started in the 80s. Mm-hmm. But like, I was a teenager, and I wonder, was there a lot of older people into goth? Like people that would have been like in their late 30s or the 40s into goth in like the 80s? Well, or was it for like teenagers and people in their like 20s?
I'm sure there were like elder goths at the time, but I was a kid, so I wasn't exactly hanging out with them because that would have been creepy.
Yeah, that would have been very creepy, and they'd be the ones in the back of the crowd.
I do remember though, like when I used to go to shows and stuff, there was always like the old person, and I often feel like, oh my gosh, I'm that old guy now.
Yeah,
I'm that one that stood in the back.
We all are,
Yeah.
No, but the reason why I'm bringing this up is sort of like the thing that I find interesting as I look back in time is that there's certain subcultures that you at this point you just consider, like, you just think like, oh, they've been around forever. Mm. And the actual thing is like, no, they weren't. Like, say for example, punk rock. Like, punk rock started like in the late 70s. There was Stooges or the MC5, but that's something else. But it's like,
as we know it,
punk rock as we know it started in the 70s, and the same thing with like goth kind of started in the 80s. So the thing that I find would find interesting, so say you're like 40 years old, goth starts to become a thing, and be like, oh, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna dye my hair black. I'm gonna wear a lot of black clothing. And the thing I'm thinking about is like, there probably wasn't anyone back then like decorating their houses goth, because they're all probably teenagers.
Well,
and they didn't even own a house yet.
Okay, I have one word.
Okay.
Vampira.
Okay.
Vampira was, I mean, unmistakably, Vampira was goth. She was also around doing her thing like in the 50s.
Was it the 50s?
I'm sure her house wasn't all like, looked like a grandma's house. You know, I doubt it was all like pink and flowers. I bet, you know, some of her persona, even though that was a character.
She played a character.
But I'm sure that didn't come out of nothing, you know.
That is true. That and the same thing with
Bela Lugosi or Vincent Price. I mean, I'm sure some of their work world, which was acting, came into their reality because they were very much like being a character, but they were being a similar character each time. So that was sort of their world.
The thing that I think about, and I think about this a lot, is the idea of like Bela Lugosi. What was her name? What was Vampire's real name?
Mila Nurmi.
Mila Nurmi. And it's like, I wonder if it's a situation where the character starts to overtake the person's life for real. Kind of.
And I mean, that's definitely possible. I mean, I think that like now we have people who kind of have that same sort of thing, whereas like Rob Zombie, for example, that's a character.
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson, that's a character.
Yeah.
You know, when they go home, there's just certainly elements of those characters in their home life, but they're not like, they don't look like that 24/7.
No.
You know? But I bet you their houses kind of have some of that element as well.
You're right. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're Rob Zombie, obviously you're going to be, it would be weirder if like, nah, I'm not really into horror films.
Yeah, like I just go
I like rom-coms.
My house looks like IKEA.
You go to Marilyn Manson's house and it's all IKEA furniture and you're like, yeah, this is a bitch to put together. Like those directions in Swedish, I don't know.
That little man, like,
So you may be asking yourself, how can I join the Tiki Goth Club? Well, there is no membership. There are no fees. But I have shirts for sale. They're $20 a piece, $5 shipping and handling. If you're interested, go to my website, tikiwithray.com. There's a prompt that says buy a shirt, follow that, and then that's how you can get your own.
Yeah, so I'm sure that just like now, with people that were like at the forefront far before there was a name for goth or a scene in any way.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the people that had those like gothic elements or gothic tendencies, people who like goths from the very beginning of goth look at and be like, these are sort of our, like our ancestry or whatever. Yeah. I'm sure that it was in their everyday life as well.
So maybe I'm asking the wrong question then, where it's not escapism. I mean, this is something that I keep on thinking about when it comes to tiki. Like when I first got into it and I started like really, really thinking about it, it's like tiki is escapism. It's all about escapism. You go into this tiki bar and there's no windows and you're cut off from the real world and you're on a beach and you're drinking a Mai Tai, right? Or for some people, they have a tiki bar in their basement or in their garage or like one room of the house. Well, right now we're in the Waters House of Tiki, and this is their third tiki bar.
What's the name of this one?
This is the Uncharted.
I call it the fish bar.
It's the fish.
There's fish.
The Uncharted Waters.
Down here?
No, this is the leftover. This is the leftover lounge at this
lounge.
point. Yeah, this is all their tiki shit that they left over, so they just put it all in here. But the point is, it's like we're in a house actually that has 3 tiki bars. 3.
All with a different theme.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
And I'm staying in my tiki bedroom over there. I have a second tiki bedroom now. I got to come up with a name with it. Well, right now it's Ray's room, right?
It's the layaway.
It's the layaway. So
the rayaway.
Yeah, well, even me too. It's like my bedroom is a tiki bar, and there's friends that I know, and it's like Heather and Don right here, where there is no escapism. Mm-hmm. This is their life.
Well, and I think that's the difference between because somebody can definitely like love tiki, love all of the stuff, go to events, do all that.
Yeah.
They may not have it in their house because it may not be, they may not have gone to that level. It may not even be their thing to that level, and that's totally fine. So I think there's a difference when you're thinking of it as a lifestyle versus escapism. Because escapism, I think that's where you're like, okay, so like work and family and whatever is back here, and I just need to go immerse myself into something that I truly enjoy. And then you're going to this place and leaving everything else behind. Whereas when if that thing becomes more of a lifestyle rather than escaping from everything else in your life, you're actually inviting that thing into your whole life. So it does become part of, your environment, and you're mixing it with your family versus getting away from your family and doing that thing, or you're mixing it with your everyday life versus escaping your everyday life. I think in a way that is a type of escapism, but what you're actually doing is escaping not your own life necessarily, but the mundanity of what
the rest of the world.
For the rest of the world, yes. Like what our life is prescribed, like it should look like this.
Yep.
And you don't want that. And so you're creating this other, a different world. And so, yes, you are still escaping. It's just you're not escaping your own life.
You're just escaping that life.
You are escapism.
You knocked it on the head. You literally knocked the nail on the head, Jamie. So there you go. So it's a point when it comes to Tiki or when it comes to Goth, where like at first you may take it as escapism, where it's like, well, this is a little part.
And honestly, it may start as escapism for you. Like your first introduction to it may very well be something that you're like going to and visiting it.
Yep, and then you kind of come back into the real world, even your own world, and then eventually it just becomes your world. And I love the fact that we're at a point in time, even when it comes to Tiki or as it comes to Goth, that you can do that.
Yeah, and I think part of that is like some of these things have, rather than being this like deep underlying subculture that like, you have to be in the know or whatever, like you can go, like we could go to the like generic fabric store down the road and get some pretty awesome, like gothy looking, because it's Halloween time right now, so they have those things on the shelves, and they're not like cheese ball stuff. It's stuff you actually want to put in your house. Like they look good. So it's become much more mainstream, and so I think that's why we're able to to immerse ourselves so much more, as these things are just more readily available.
I honestly think we're at a point in time. It's way better than the 80s, I'll tell you that. And I love it, the fact that like you can immerse yourself. And and like for example, like literally this is a pineapple.
See, this is off the rack Goth Tiki.
This is off the rack Goth Tiki, literally, and it's a pineapple, but it's literally just a bunch of skulls.
It's beautiful, and the leaves are black.
Yeah, the leaves are black.
Glowy red eyes, like it's amazing.
This shit wasn't around the 80s.
Hell no.
No. So, yeah. So is Goth escapism? It could be. But I think it's better if it just becomes your life. Jamie, you have a Facebook group.
I do.
What's it called?
It is Goth Tiki. Surprise!
And
and also an Instagram, also called Goth Tiki.
Yep, and this is the Tiki Goth Club, and this is me and Jamie. And we got shirts for sale. So there'll be a link to buy one if you want to buy your own and join the club.
It's like the Mickey Mouse Club.
It's like the Mickey Mouse Club. It's like, well, let's take it out the same way.
We need bat ears, though.
We need bat ears. That's great. That's a great idea. So MIC, see you real soon. KY. Why? Because we like you. That was creepy. I remember watching that. Even as a kid, I'm being like, because we like you?
And also, you can't see me. Like, I can see you, but I know you're on TV. And Annette, you cannot see me.
Who would have thought that, like, maybe there you go. The Mickey Mouse Club was actually cool.
It was a cult.
It was a cult. Yeah, it was a cult. No, actually, when it comes to Disney, there's people.
There is a cult.
It's
the cult of Disney is a whole different episode.
Let's go down a creepier vibe and talk about the cult of Disney.
No.
The Disney Goth Club.